Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. The fifth and final Test match, England versus Australia, is here. For all the optimism, the unearthing of crude text messages from an ex-Australian captain to start the series, the early mornings, the newfound coffee addictions, it's lived up to delivering the same level of disappointment that we wake up to that fills the air at 4 a.m. and you go, why am I doing this? We are 3-0 down with one Test match to go. We are 12-0 down in Australia from the last 14 Test matches, but this is 2022, Richard, and I'm still optimistic this is going to be our year.
It is. Well, good for you, mate. Good for you. First off, nothing good really ever happens at about 4 o'clock in the morning, does it?
That's what my parents used to say.
Nothing good happens. So, we're staying up watching these Test matches over here. When it gets to that sort of time, on this series in particular, there's nothing good's happening. We've just about got through it. Tim Payne text messages. I completely forgot about that. That seems a lifetime ago. That's like a year ago. Well, technically a year ago. But yeah, it's been a long way coming, hasn't it? We did the little review of the fourth Test the other day, the brilliant drawn match from England. Well done. Give us the Ashes. Fifth and final Test, Rob. We're nearly there. Boys are nearly on the way back home.
It is.
Optimism. Yeah, a little bit.
But does it feel good? Like every time you play in Australia, every ground feels like a fortress. Like, wait till we see you at the Gabba, and MCG, it's like a cauldron. Now we're playing at Hobart and it's like,
Nice. It's New Zealand ground, isn't it? That's how I see it. It's got the grass banks. It's a lot calmer, a lot smaller. Adelaide used to be lovely, but Adelaide's obviously been so developed in recent years. It's another bowl ground, isn't it? SCG is the same. You've still got nice pavilions, but again, they've filled everything out. So they're just 4 bowls. Can't even remember what the new Perth Stadium looks like, but I'm imagining it's another massive bowl. It's going to make a big difference, isn't it, for England to go and play at a ground that's a little bit further back, using football. It's not like playing it at the old West Ham Upton Park or something, isn't it, where the fans are right on top of you. It's nice and relaxed, nice and laid back, nice and spaced out. So a little bit less pressure on England when they're in the field, maybe. I'm really interested to see this Test match. I mean, the pitch, obviously you've got a little order. We're going to go through teams, what we expect to play. We've got some news coming in already, haven't we, especially from the Australian side, question marks for England. But the track was green 48 hours out. It's still green 24 hours out. I'm wearing the Launceston, Hobart, track on my torso today. So you would expect to see some seam today, tomorrow, Rob.
Yep, I think you're right,
some
mate.
seamers.
It will be a different atmosphere because Hobart has never had a Test match in the Ashes before. So that's a special occasion. You can imagine people in Hobart, if they've not got COVID scarce fever and all those sorts of things about people coming in. I don't know the state of Hobart and what's going on there. They will throw themselves into the Test match. They will love it for what it is. And, Australia can lose at Hobart, Rich. We were chatting just before we came on air. 2016, they got absolutely ripped apart by a world-class Vernon Philander. I'll get there in the end.
Who now?
But they lost by an innings in 80. And this Australian team are good at Hobart in general. They've won 9, lost 2 in the time that they've been playing there. The average 45 with the bat, high score of 583. But they did get rolled for 85 in that first innings against South Africa in the game that they lost. So it does open it up that teams can go and win there.
Yeah, it's a bit of an outlier though, isn't it? When we looked at it, it's only really New Zealand that have had any success in the odd Test matches that do get played in Tasmania. So apart from that South Africa game and apart from the Kiwis, which is, like I said, it's like a Kiwi venue, in my opinion, nobody else has any success. So, we'll lean on the South Africa experience, shall we? And we'll go with your optimism that you're bringing to the party, Rob, you plonker.
Plonker here.
Well, as soon as we talk about optimism, we have to remind everybody of the fact that you were called a plonker for being optimistic. So,
it is true. It is true. And it's true on many levels, I think, mate. So I'm quite excited. I do like a Perth finish, but I'm excited for something new. Hobart hopefully can bring that, and this new wave 2020 is going to be my year. I'm 14 days into the new year or whatever it is, and I'm still going strong on my diet, sort of optimism. I still go to the gym.
Wow.
That's good.
Well, it is summer. There's less excuses. It's cold over here. It's miserable. It's too easy to just stay in and not do anything and then just eat some bad food. So you're all right, middle of summer. Yeah, it's still 2022 as well, Rob. 2020. I know that was the last. It feels like we're only just starting 2020 because of how bad the last couple of years have been. But it is definitely 2022. I just want to confirm that with you.
Thank you very much. I'm having a bit of a rollback at the moment.
We need to go back to 2020.
Clearing out a wardrobe. I just found one of my mum's necklaces from the time she was here in 2019. So we're definitely rolling back the years. The Australian team, I really like the Aussies' approach to picking a team, Rich. Before we go into who's in and who's out, they're just bold. It's like, this is the team that you are going to play against. And it's always ahead of time unless there's a niggle or something going on. No. But they're so like...
Good for us.
What difference does it make? Like, we know who we're going to pick. And we think they're better than you.
Yeah. I mean, they've been decisive, aren't they, as well? You know, I've joked about the pitch being green. A little bit less green than it was yesterday, and it's going to be a little bit less green than it was tomorrow. But it's still going to be green. It's going to be like the first test at Brisbane. So you don't need to worry about it. And the thing is, they don't have to have that decision of, shall we play leach? Shall we not play a spinner? Shall we? They've got Nathan Lyon. He's got 400-odd test wickets. And is it 400? Oh, my God. I forgot.
400-odd test wickets. Yeah, he's over the mark.
Exactly, of course he has. So you don't have to make that decision, do you? So what other decision is there to make? Now, there is a decision to make, obviously fitness test for one of the bowlers. But yeah, I love the way they get ahead of the game and announce it. And I think they've made the right decisions in this one as well.
So big one, Marcus Harris, you know, he started the series really, really poor. He had an average of about 10 in Ashes cricket. I actually think he's one of the reasons they won that third test match. His real gritty 74, 75, 76. Yeah. He scored one of those numbers in between 70 and 80. Was really good. He's improved throughout, but he's always kind of had his name on the chopping block. Just enough. He's there's 13 innings against England now in home and away cricket. He still averages 19 against them. He averages 25 in test cricket. But this series, he's averaging 29. Like,
he's doing all right.
He's not bad. Like, we'd like someone to average 29 who opens.
Dream, mate. A dream scenario. Well, I think I turned to Ricky Ponting and I started a sentence with look.
Look.
Look, Rob. Okay. Harry, as Cummins was talking about, said he should be, he's a little bit unfortunate to lose his place. Cummins is happy with the contributions. He's not going to say the opposite, is he, in public? But he doesn't have to say anything, basically. But he said, how well Marcus Harry has been playing. And he's improved as the series has gone on. He's getting confidence. This is the thing, isn't it? You've got to give people a run of games. England have done that with openers, rightly or wrongly. We'll get onto that in a minute, whether or not they're going to continue that trend. Not sure if they will be. But Harris deserved the opportunity to continue. But after Travis Head has done so well, you can't drop Labuschagne, you can't drop Smith. Your all-rounders there, and they want to play that all-rounder at 6. Yeah. So where do you fit Usman Khawaja? And you cannot omit Usman Khawaja after hitting 200s in the last test match. So unfortunately, Harris was always the man that would be targeted as the weak link, if you like. Another way of looking at it as well, before this series, Harris was not the man necessarily they were looking to open for Australia. It was the young fella who has had the concussion issues. His name just escapes me.
He's just made a return, actually. He's played...
Good on him.
Victoria Premier grade. He got a quick 530 or something like that. But he said, hey, outcome, not important. I'm back on the pitch. I'm enjoying my cricket.
Awesome. Good for him. That's great to hear. So Harris was a little bit fortunate in some respects to get this run. And he's been a bit unfortunate that Khawaja came in and did so well, but it was the absolutely right decision. So, top 6 of Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith, Travis Head recalled after his little code out, Cam Green, Alex Carey, wicketkeeper, and we expect captain Pat Cummins to be there. Stark, it sounds like he's going to go. We can run over this in a second if you want, obviously. Nathan Lyon, and then Boland. That's the big question mark, isn't it?
Yeah, it is he hurt his ribs in Sydney. Underwent a fitness test and have not made a call, which is fine. You can understand why they want him to play, Rich. We spoke about it on the review test. He's the greatest test bowler of all time, 14 wickets in average of 8.6. Economy rate 2.19. He's got a 5 for he's took 3 catches, and he takes a wicket every 23.6 deliveries. That's a useful cricketer to have in. Jai Richardson seems to be the next man in. And now he played, I think it was the second test that he played. He took 5 wickets in the game, 5 wickets in an innings, and came away with a 24 average and took a wicket every 45. did a bit with it both ways. First innings, he was a little bit erratic and a little bit nervous, I think, because he puts a lot into what he's doing. It's all hustle and bustle to get it in and get it down there at a decent click. But second innings, I thought he was really good. And you know what? One thing we've seen from this Australian bowling attack, they lost Hazelwood. They've played Nessa, they've played Richardson, they've played Boland. No one has come in and let them down.
Oh, they've not skipped a beat, have they? I mean, when you think that attack start coming to Hazelwood line, it's Indian fans might argue, but it's arguably the best 4 bowlers in world cricket, isn't it? Best attack. So yeah, Richardson, Kevin, he did really well. He goes 5 wickets in that innings. Nisa did pretty well. I mean, I don't want to say he did really well, because when you compare it against Boland and Richardson, he did all right, but he still did well. He didn't miss anything. But Boland, apparently he's going to, like you say, he's going to have a fitness test. He did have training and he had no issues whatsoever in training. So they are optimistic about him. Yeah. I wonder if they would want to get Richardson another test match in this series after he did do so well. And they want to keep these, they want to keep a battery of bowlers, don't they? It's not just the 3, not just the 4. You want 5 or 6 or 7 of these seamers so you can keep rotating them if you need to, but not too much like England do.
I agree. I agree with that, mate. I think England's rotation is it's rotation for rotation's sake. When you've got people that only play red ball cricket, it's a little bit silly in my eyes. But it's a good segue to start moving on to England. I think the Aussies are covered.
Yes.
Now, England haven't officially announced what their team is going to look like, but George Doble, always reliable ex-editor at Cricinfo, now with the Cricketer, just loves cricket. Right, some really good stuff. His call on what is going to happen is that Burns is going to come in to open with Crawley, Malan at 3, Root at 4, Stokes is going again at 5. So I did see a great tweet that went, you know what, we've had rest and rotation all this time, and now we've just got injuries trying to get into the team. So Stokes is going at 5. Bairstow question mark at 6. If he's unavailable, it's going to be Ollie Pope. His thumb issues, causing some concern for him, and whelping. I think you said, Rich, earlier about what's going on.
Technical term, I think there's a couple of
thanks, Doc.
I think there's a couple of yelps in the net apparently. So he's certainly not a lock, is he? But we'll talk about him in a minute, definitely.
Sam Billings at 7. He's a given. He's been told, hey, drive across the country. You can play a game of Test cricket, and he goes, cool, I'm coming. Hi, Zakar. Yeah. One great story, and I can't remember where I listened to it, was he was driving through the country, listening to the radio, and they were talking cricket, so he phoned into the cricket radio show.
No.
I can't remember where I heard that. I must have been watching the Big Bash or something, and it came on. Woakes is coming back into the team for a Jack Leach. Robinson coming in for what seems to be a Jimmy Anderson rest rotation, question mark injury, but we don't know. We haven't heard that. And Wood and Broad rounding out the 11. So we'll walk through these one by one, Rich, starting at the top. Rory Burns is returned to Test cricket after being dropped for 2 tests.
Yeah. So first things first, Hasib Hameed, as we don't want to call it elephant in the room, because it's not like we haven't put him under the microscope. He had a really bad tour. He's had a shocker, really, hasn't he? He's averaging 10 in his 4 Test matches, 80 runs so far scored. We can do math. You look at that in isolation, you think, okay, you want to get him out of there. But second test, he hung around 58 deliveries. He was trying to do his best. It's not like he's in and out in an over or 2, like some of the other openers have been. So there are definite arguments to get him out of the firing line. But when Rory Burns is the man that's backing it up, like we said last podcast, for those of you who haven't heard, we were talking about the fact that this squad, and it's not hindsight, we said at the time, we were shocked that there wasn't another opener in the squad.
Yes.
Crawley can open, but he's more of a cover at 3 as well. But there should have been an Alex Lees, a Rob Yates, or somebody else who should have been in this squad as well. Rory Burns, 2 Test matches, he averaged 12.75 in this series. Hasib Hameed, 4 Test matches, averaging 10. What is the difference? Rory Burns and Dom Sibley got themselves 20, 30 odd Test matches in a row to prove themselves. Hameed's got basically 4 plus the summer, which was 2 or was it 3 Test matches in the summer?
Last couple against India, 3rd and 4th Test, I think. It might have been 3, but
so he's had a run of 6 or 7 Test matches. Now, unless he's got an injury, and George Doble, the man who did this article, who is on the ball, loving life in Australia, said, what was his description? Hasib Hameed was jogging around the field in training, looking like an octogenarian with a piano on his back. So I'm assuming that means he's got a niggle. It can't be that he's just wearing those oversized short leg pads as he's doing his jogs. But he never looks overly comfortable, does he? The jumper's always a little bit too big. He's got them pads on permanently. It can't be comfortable. But I understand the decision if they take it, but I don't think it's right. I think you give Hameed the final test match, and then you make a clear decision ahead of the 3 test matches in West Indies coming up in March. You've got plenty of breathing space to make that decision clearly. Rory Burns, apparently, again, according to the same man, did not have a good net. So he's had a shocker of a net. He's had a shocker of a series after a pretty shocking run of games of late, a little bit better towards the end of the summer. And he's found himself recalled through nothing that he has done himself. And I don't like that. I don't like the fact that he's coming back in after nothing's changed. Has anyone improved any technical issues? He hasn't had time. Has anyone improved any triggers? Anything else? No, he hasn't had time. He can't have done. Now, if he comes and scores runs, it's going to be more luck than judgment, isn't it? It's going to be more, it just happens, because that's what sometimes happens after you've been away. You relax a little bit, you come back in.
Yeah.
So good luck to him. Don't get me wrong. Good luck to him. If he goes and scores 100 and everything's clicked and we're all up and running, then great. Burns and Crawley are the future. But I think it's pretty hard going on.
What are you trying to prove out of this? Like, if you're England, we are England. What do you want to know? Because you've seen Burns. Do you want to go, I want to see Burns one more time after seeing him 31 times, averaging 30.92, 3 centuries, 8 ducks, 11 50s, scores at a strike rate of 43, averages less than Compton, less than Denley.
What are you going to learn?
Leach opening batted. That's an anomaly, that end. That's just being a bit of an idiot. But he averages virtually the same as what Sam Robson did, and Sam Robson's played 7 test matches in the last 10 years.
Yeah, so soon after he's been dropped, and at the time was everybody speaking about, it's what got him to international cricket. Continue with, but you've got to refine things. You've got to tweak things. You've got to improve things. You've got to make things more streamlined and easier. The ball's coming on a bit quicker in places like Australia. It's easy enough maybe for Burns to go and score runs against certain opposition, but in Australia and against this Australian attack, you've got to be perfect technically, haven't you? Or a combination of mentally, technically, and temperament-wise. You have to have, a beautiful mix of the 3 in order to have success. What can we learn from one more test match with Rory Burns? If he comes in and scores, what's a minimum expectation? If he gets a couple of 40s, does that mean he's the opener in West Indies?
Mate,
I don't know what they want.
It's tough, and it feels like it's tough on Hameed. Like, we can all see Hameed struggling.
Yeah,
but Hameed's played 9 test matches. He averages 23. That 23 opening the batting is still more than Zach Crawley. However, it is less than Keaton Jennings, but only by a couple of digits. And Keaton Jennings had another 8 test matches. Like, we've given length of string to a lot of people for a lot of time and had average results. We are playing in a time, and let's be fair, I posted this on Twitter earlier. It's the hardest decade to bat in Test cricket since 1950. This decade, the top 7 is averaging 35. So if you average above 35, you're above average top 7 batsman. We haven't got many people that do that, and we definitely don't have openers that do that.
No. I just want to divert 1 second, actually, talking about averages. Zach Crawley was talking, wasn't he? And he was. I don't want to say he was blaming the tracks in England, but in the county game.
Yeah.
But he was saying how much more difficult they are. And if a batsman's averaging 35, they're doing really well. Now, there's 2 parts with that. It's like, he's got a point, and he clearly does have a point. But at the same time, really, surely if you're good enough and you've got the right temperament, you want to bat time, and you're not going to get yourself out with daft shots, you can still go and average more. I thought that was a little bit of a cop-out. Obviously, I have literally 0 experience of county game in front of bowlers or whatever, other than watching it. But I just thought that was a little bit of a cop-out. And yes, it is difficult for batsmen to score, but the best will always find a way, and the best will be disciplined enough to bat time and pick the right times to go and attack. One of the things that I think Hameed has lost since the summer first test is the ability to just rotate, get himself off strike, get his partner off strike, and just keep rotating those 2. And Burns and Hameed did that fantastically well at the back end of English summer. And I think it was, first test was they had some energy about them anyway. At least Hameed did.
Yep.
Since it's gone on, he got more and more bogged down. There was that spell, was it in the 4th test, where there was 70, 71 or 77 deliveries, 77 dot balls in a row at one point. That's just, you cannot do that. And that includes a couple of wickets, I think, as well. So we cannot do that. So I totally understand why they are dropping him if he does get dropped. But if Burns is my only option in the squad, I probably just hold with what I've got for one more test match, give him one more opportunity if he's fit. And then we make that decision where we probably, unless he does it remarkably well, that we make a different decision in West Indies. Rory Burns, good luck to you. I'm not saying I'm going to say he's not going to do anything, but I just don't see the point of this one. I really don't.
That's a nice way to finish. I don't see the point of it.
What do you want me to say? Rory, come on.
It's true. It's true. Malan, Root, Stokes, that's cool. Stokes fighting through. What would you wouldn't expect anything else? Johnny Bairstow.
It's just worth saying, sorry, quickly, Stokes, we're probably going to be looking, he's going to just be a batsman. If he plays, he's a batsman. There is no all-rounder Stokes in this one.
Yeah. Stokes is cool. He's batting well at the moment, looking good. Bairstow coming off a career-saving ton, and we spoke about in the last podcast. He might have booked himself another year in this England team with that century. So more power to you. I'm going to make an assumption he goes ahead because he is not going to let someone take his England shirt unless the doctor turns around and said, you're not allowed to play.
Yeah, it's telling. Joe Root was being interviewed about it, wasn't it? And he was speaking about Johnny Bairstow. Obviously, they want him to play. They want to give him a test. They gave him a net. And, as we were just saying earlier, he yelped a few times when the ball hit him on the hands and, a little bit of pain, showing a bit of pain there when he's batting. Now, if he's struggling when he's batting, he's going to struggle when he's fielding. He obviously can't keep wicket. So that's one option removed, which is why I think it's such a lock that Billings is going to take the gloves. But if Bairstow is struggling now, can he play? Yeah, he could probably sneak in a game. But as Joe Root was saying, it's one thing if you're fit to play, but it's another if you're fit to perform. And I just wonder if they take a sensible decision on this. Johnny Bairstow absolutely 100% will pick himself. Yeah. I can play. He wants to play. But because of what he did in the fourth test, I think he has a position locked in for when we hit the ground in West Indies. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue unless there are some dramatic changes in the England setup, as in Chris Silverwood, etc., at the end of this tour. But I don't think there will be. I think we'll have done well enough in the fourth and fifth test to paper over a few of those cracks. And I think there'll be quite a few other reasons, excuses, whatever you want to call it, lack of preparation, etc., that will keep Silverwood going in all the positions he currently has. So I wonder if Pope will be in there, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. Billings, I've not always been his biggest fan in red ball cricket. White ball, I haven't quite been convinced by him, but I've not seen enough of him. If he was a Notts player, I'm sure I'd be shouting from the rooftops for him to play. So
you would have seen more of him. Yeah, you see more cricketers of the team you support. It's just how it is.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm really enthused by the way he talks. Just you saying that story about how he's driving someone, he jumps on and has a chat on the radio. He seems like a really good character. He hasn't took the gloves as much as he possibly should have done if you're an England keeper over the last few years in first class cricket, but he has been keeping Big Bash and other one day, so he's in good form. He seems calm, he seems clear of mind, he seems like he's very, very, he's ready, he's waiting for this opportunity, and some players need to come later to get this chance. So let's hope they do give him the gloves. There's no nonsense with giving Pope the gloves, and he gets that opportunity.
He's highly thought of by his peers, which is a good thing. He does mix it on the franchise circuit, which is it's just saying you're in the upper echelon of being able to hit a cricket ball pretty well and earn some good dollar while you're doing it. He's respected in Australia. He's done really well in the Big Bash and wherever he's gone. First class cricket, his technique compared to Josh Butler is much more preferred to Test cricket when he plays red ball. He plays with more of an orthodox style in red ball cricket than what you probably see from a Josh Butler. His feet are a little bit better, but still scores at a real high strike rate. County cricket scores at a strike rate of over 60. So I think it is time. He's been around the unit for a long time. He wants to play Test cricket. Great. I'm excited to see what he goes and does. I did just want to call one thing on Josh Butler. Josh Butler, the wicket keeper, and you see on Twitter, there's a lot of love for Josh Butler because he's a great cricketer and he's been superb for English cricket. But as a Test cricketer, it hasn't worked. He averages 37 times he's kept for England in Test cricket. He averages 29.60 with one century. Tim Ambrose kept 11 times for England, averaged 29.80 with one century.
I'm not laughing at Tim Ambrose. It's just the fact that I did not expect to. I think I'd even forgot about Tim Ambrose.
I'll put it out there. Alan Knott, who played 14, 15 years with England, averaged more than more than Butler with the gloves. So
yeah,
it's one of those things. And you sent me a really good article by Mark Ramprakash about Butler's kind of mindset around red ball cricket, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just jumping in quickly on Butler as a stats, you spoke about his as wicketkeeper, but he's played, obviously, he's probably played another 20 test matches, so 57 test matches in total. He's had 100 innings as a batsman, whether it's with the gloves or without, and he's only averaging 31.94. That's not bad if you're an opener for England, but that's not good enough if you're a wicketkeeper batsman. The Ramprakash article I thought was fantastic. Mark Ramprakash was talking about his interactions, etc., with Butler, and it seems that Butler doesn't. This is according to Mark Ramprakash. I think we should share this article, actually. If people haven't seen it, it's a little Guardian write-up.
I'll put it in the description below,
please,
where you can also probably find somewhere to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts while you're there. Thanks.
Yeah, come on. And like and subscribe. Yes. Look, mate. Yeah. Ricky Ponting's back in the room. He was talking about how Butler doesn't seem to have a clear idea or plan of how to bat in test match cricket. One day cricket is very simple, isn't it? He's going at 6 and over, and he's got 8 and over, and he's got 10 and over, whatever it might be. Test match cricket, he doesn't quite understand how to do it. Ramprakash was talking about having a net, wasn't he? Just doing some throwdowns. And he was like, I'm not going to tell you where they're going. I'm just going to throw some random balls down and just play it on its merits. And Ramprakash was saying that Butler didn't seem to really understand that because he's so organised and so, this is discipline. This is what I need. This is what I want to practice. Test cricket, there isn't a rule book for it. Yeah. Every innings is different. Every individual innings, every team innings is different. Every condition is different. Every day is different. The pitch changes every day. And it just seems like he's not adapted to that. I think this is a blessing in disguise for Joss that he's going home now. And I think it will give him time to just make his decision. And if what Ramprakash is saying is accurate and is true, and Butler would privately agree with it, I think we might be seeing the end of Joss Butler as a test cricketer.
Yeah, you could well be right, but hopefully we get a lot more enjoyment, especially going to Australia 2022 T20 World Cup. Joss opening the batting and going to dominate.
And this is what we want. We don't want a format muddying his ability in the format where he excels. And we need him to excel as a white ball cricketer in T20s and 50 over cricket. So that's one of the main reasons I do also hope that we move on from him. Interestingly enough, as well, Ramprakash does point to the fact that if we're going to start looking forward and maybe separate the disciplines a little bit, I'm not saying you'll end up having 2 setups, a white ball and a red, but maybe we have some specialists in Test cricket, because clearly Test cricket is lacking something at the moment for England. So maybe that name, that man, Ben Foakes, that's the one that Ramprakash believes could be the one to take the gloves going forward for England.
I like it. Next man in, Chris Woakes is back in the team, Rich. Now, Chris Woakes isn't very good in Australia. He's not very good in Australia. He averages 55 in Australia. He doesn't do...
Oh, that's a good average. Get him opening the batting, Rob.
55.61, a strike rate of 106. This is his bowling average. Let me be clear. But he does average 26 with the bat in this series, but 76 with the ball. So he's not quite doing the whole all-rounder thing. He is such a specialist at playing in English conditions, a wonderful all-round cricketer for England that gives balance and depth with a struggling top 6, always scores runs at number 8. He's got test match century, that incredible knock he had at Lord's a few years ago. But 94 of his 122 wickets have come at home. 3 in India at 81, 4 in New Zealand at 50, 5 in South Africa at 56, and 13 in Australia at 55.
Okay.
Is this purely just a rest and rotation selection?
I think it is.
Make it through the series.
I think it is. If I'm Craig Overton, Craig Woakes, combination.
Craig Overton,
super cricketer. If I'm Craig Overton, I'm quite disappointed. If Woakes is coming back in the team, we know what a great player Woakes is in English conditions, especially. We know what a great character he is. I mean, he's a fine Englishman, isn't he?
Yeah.
Good-looking boy, good player. Lot to love. But he's took 3 wickets at a strike rate of 125 in this series. By far the worst out of every single person that's bowled and took a wicket. Obviously, need a wicket for a strike rate in this series. I struggle with this one a little bit. I really do. Love Woakes, but I'm very confused with this one. I totally understand Robinson coming back in, just jumping ahead a little bit, and I understand Wood and Broad continuing. The four seamers, no problems with that whatsoever after looking at that track. And also, with all due respect of what Leach has given us, you've got Malan and Root who can throw a few down, a few spinners down, haven't we? So Woakes is just the one where you've got Robinson, you've got Wood, you've got Broad. They can all bat. They're not all eights, but they could probably make up for having a weaker four, isn't it, with the bat? And Overton can bat as well a little bit. So you would have been looking maybe Robinson, Wood, Overton, Broad, or something like that. So that was good enough when you look at some of the lineups we've had. We've had a couple of 11s playing at the same time sometimes, haven't we? So, yeah, I struggle to justify the Woakes inclusion if that is the case. But I certainly do vote in favour of letting Jimmy Anderson get into his hotel room, start packing his bags, go for a stroll along wherever you go for a stroll in Hobart, I've not been. And just relax and just get himself ready for that long flight home.
It's good effort from Jimmy, mate. He's bowled 100 overs. That's the most of any English bowler in this series. And that's the control. His stats are incredible, actually. 8 wickets, which he's been unlucky he's not got more. A bowling average of 23.37. Like I said, 104 overs, 36 maidens. In the series, he's gone at a 1.79 economy rate.
Just about to say, give me that economy rate. Tell me... 1.79. That's it. I would have someone whisper that in my ear. That's a great economy rate from Jimmy.
What do you have on your gravestone when you die? Rich Andrew, 1.79 economy rate, Ashes Tour 2021-22.
It's as good as we've had in this series for anything. That's probably the most impressive feat of any player in this series, the 1.79 economy rate from James.
It is. We've struggled for economy rate. Woakes going at 3.6, Stokes at 4.5, Leach 4.3, Root 4.2, Mark Wood bowled excellent 3.47.
It's no 1.7.
But Ollie Robinson 2.67. He's back in the team. He's had his Test match rest. So it looked like Robinson's the young gun. He's going to get 4 Test matches. They're going to get 4 out of Wood. And they're also going to get 3 out of Anderson, 3 out of Broad. Rest and rotation. We know they got that hugely wrong, but Robinson's back in the team. Better team with Robinson in the team. It is hard to get him into this mix. But I think if you had Woakes out and Anderson in, that's probably the best 4 seamers we've got in the country.
Yeah, and I think that attack, again, with all due respect to Jack Leach and the way he's used on the field and the way he's used off the field, as in the selection, I think your 4 seamers, Wood, Broad, Anderson, Robinson, is your best attack at the moment. I just don't think we're a stronger team with a spinner. And I think it's one of those where you have to pick a team that's going to take 20 wickets. And I haven't quite seen that we're going to improve our odds of doing that with Jack Leach. And I like Jack Leach as a cricketer. I'm just not sure this England setup like Jack Leach as a cricketer as much as we think they do. Or at once upon a time they did. Let's put it that way. Because over the last 12 months, they've clearly not fancied him.
No, they've not liked him at all, and they've not liked anyone. They didn't treat Don Best very well either. It must be a spinner thing, mate. They're anti spinners.
They're just. I think they have to have one around. They have to have people around the squad or play the odd game who's a spinner. But I don't think they're convinced with any options at the moment. If there was a spinner on the county circuit that bats at 7 or 8 for his county, who's a young spinner and who's impressing spinning, I think they'd go with them. Yeah. I don't think there is somebody there. I mean, Matt Critchley is probably the best batsman who you would call a frontline spinner, but he's a leggy, and I don't think England are convinced he's a spinner first and foremost. So that's somebody that if he can improve, I'm not saying he's bad, but do you know what? If he can improve where he is, because that's the whole thing. If he can convince the selectors that he doesn't play for Derbyshire, then he will probably get a Test match. He'll suddenly become a much better spinner.
He's actually just moved county as well, Critchley.
Oh, has he? Yes, he did. Yeah, I forgot over the winter, didn't he?
Absolutely positive he's wound up at Surrey or somewhere like that.
Yes, you might be right. So we'll be seeing Matt Critchley next year.
Essex.
Here first.
He signed for Essex.
Oh, well, that's not going to help him, is it, when they've got Simon Harmer? Okay, so Matt Critchley doesn't want to be a spinner anymore, so that's fine. We understand. No problem. But yeah, I think that's the issue, isn't it? England are not convinced by any options they've got with the spin at the moment, so that's why we're not seeing them show any faith in anybody.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. What do we think? We've got about 2 minutes left of the pod. We're making predictions. We say RIP, thanks for your time, Dan Lawrence, Craig Overton, Don Best. Thanks for travelling to Australia. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the bubbles. What's the prediction for this test? What do you really think? What's deep inside that green jumper, Brian Clough? What are you going to tell us to do other than keep it on the floor?
Well, I need Rory Burns to look at that cricket ball. It's your friend. Look after it. Rory Burns is going to be out in the second over of the innings. We bat first. He's going to nick off. Crawley's going to hang around. Crawley's going to get 100 in the first innings. Joe Root's going to go back and score big, and we're going to get our first plus 300. We haven't got 300 yet, have we?
No.
In this series, we're going to go 350 odd in the first innings, and we're going to bat ourselves into position where we can actually remarkably find a way to potentially win a game of Test cricket. That was as certain as I can possibly be.
I'm going to go rain. I haven't seen the forecast. I'm going rain. I think it's a draw along the way. I think we will have some moments. I actually think Sam Billings is going to come in and he's going to do really well. He's been playing in Australia. He's played there a few times. Like he's set up. I think Crawley's going to have another good Test match. It's going to take Australia a while to work out how they get someone like Crawley out. Now he's got the confidence going. I think David Malan's going to wilter and finish the tour in pretty poor fashion, actually. He's going to average less than 25 on the series. Stokes will do all right. Bowling-wise, Robinson will look good because he's had a rest and he looked like he needed that rest as well. But I don't think we've quite got enough there. So I'm calling Crawley. I'm calling Billings. And you know what? I'd love to see Joe Root get that monkey off his back, get a ton in Australia. Go do it. Finish the season strong. Finish the series strong. But I'm calling it a 3-0 finish.
3-0 finish, and I think that is fair. I think the match, if it ended 3-1, that is hugely... it's unfair, let's say, on Australia, and very, very complimentary towards England. This has not been a 3-0 series. This has been a 5-0 series, hasn't it? Yes, we played well in that draw, so maybe a 4-0. That would be a fair result, I think, to show what a difference the two teams are. But a draw would be fantastic. I'm just going optimistic, like you like to do, you plonker, and I want to win. I want an England win.
Go on, England.
Why not? I mean, come on, guys, give us something. And I also want a win because I want it to prove as well, or be more ammunition to prove that with preparation, with some time in Australia, this team can improve and play over there.
Yeah.
And this isn't a normal Australian setup, is it, here?
No.
It's an Australian pitch, as we know, but it's a different thing altogether in many respects. So maybe it's a little bit more suited to England. Maybe it just looks green, but just plays really well, doesn't do a lot. Until Australia bowl, and then it looks like it does everything.
It does a bit. Always the last hour before the close of play when England are batting. But yeah, no, it's set up for a really good finish to the Test series. It's been hard as England fans, but it is going to get better in 2022. Like I've said, no Australia after this Test, no India, no New Zealand. We're all right against everyone else. So we're going to be absolutely fine. And what would be great is if you would hit that subscribe button while you were here. Catch us on any podcast platform going. If you listen on YouTube, yay, go and drop us a subscribe and a 5-star rating on Apple podcast platform. That would be absolutely fantastic, guys. We'll be back for an end of fifth Test review, hopefully with some good news, hopefully with some more smiles and more optimism personified and just clarified and correct. It's all good being an England cricket fan again. We will catch you guys next time.